why don't we start from the top, Ben? Tell me what you can.
Sure. So Monday afternoon at about 4:45 p.m. Local time in Arizona, I received a phone call from my son-in-law, and I answered the phone call, and he said, "Ben, our worst nightmares have come true." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "They've left. They're gone." And I said, "Who's left? Who's gone?" He said, "Abby, Blaze, and Spring. Abby is his wife. Spring is his wife, and Blaze is my child, who's 16. Left to go to Boise, Idaho on a flight from Phoenix Sky Harbor direct to Boise, and that Brooke Hale, who is my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, was waiting there to pick them up. I raced home. I met my son-in-law, Braden, at my house to get more details. He said that his wife, Abby, had asked him to come home early for lunch because she was not feeling well and needed to go to the doctor. So he came home at about 10:30 a.m. He had noticed the Ring doorbell from their apartment had been taken off, and he thought that was strange. So he knocked on the door, and Abby let him in. And she was in the process of packing luggage with all kinds of winter gear, survival gear, camouflage. And he asked her obviously what she was doing, and she said, "We need to go. We need to leave now." And she explained where they were going and that they wanted him to come, that Brooke had bought tickets for all of them, and that they needed to leave immediately. He resisted and said, I do not want to go. My daughter was emotional. Braden was emotional. They called Brooke. Brooke tried to persuade him, shared some dreams with him, shared some scriptures with him, told him he needed to be like Zoram, who followed Lehi and his family into the wilderness, and to just have faith. Braden felt very uncomfortable. He, in the moment, just was so shocked. He said that he needed to get out of there. He walked out of the apartment, um, went down the stairs, went and sat in his car that was parked in the apartment parking lot. He noticed that my wife was there in her car with Blaze in the front seat. As he sat in his car, he saw Abby come down with all the luggage. They put the luggage into the back of the car and they drove away. This all happened around 11 a.m. Arizona time.
So, Ben,
Um,
Abby and Blaze are your two kids.
Abby's 24 and Blaze is 16.
Okay.
Yes, they both are my kids.
And their uncle told them to leave Arizona and come to Idaho.
My wife, Abby, and their uncle all believe in this rapture and this doomsday scenario that's about to happen according to the beliefs they have. And they three made the decision that now was the time to go gather. And Blaze's role in all of this, they believe he is something called a Davidic servant. So they felt like they need to protect him, and they needed to take him to this undisclosed location where he would receive his calling and understand his role in the second coming and the Savior's return to the earth. So that's how Blaze is involved in this. They see him as this Davidic servant that plays a significant role in the Savior's return.
And as far as these beliefs, Ben, as far as you know, I mean, has your wife been talking about this for, the past few weeks or months, or is this suddenly out of the blue? She starts saying this and off they go.
So back in 2015, my wife got involved pretty heavily with Julie Rowe, so much that she was asked to be a scribe for some of these revelations that Julie Rowe was receiving. There was some energy healings that took place. It concerned me a great deal. I expressed that to her, and we actually, I requested that we go in and talk to our ecclesiastical leader, a bishop, to talk about it. The bishop asked her or essentially told her she needed to stop if she wanted the marriage to survive. Spring stopped following Julie Rowe at that time, but I think she was still indoctrinated with a lot of what was taught and shared. Um, my wife's always been fascinated with the end of days, the last times. Um, she's recently been researching significantly an author by the name of Abraham Gileadi, who purports to understand the book of Isaiah. Um, my wife brought my daughter into this about 2.5 years ago, and they started having dreams, and they started sharing dreams, and both felt like they had the gift to interpret dreams. They brought my brother-in-law into this about a year and a half ago when he was going through a pretty significant crisis in his own marriage, and he just has taken it and run with it. But yes, my wife has been involved in these types of things in one way or another for many years. Um, she's always been a church attending, a temple worthy member of our church and served in callings, but on the side, she's had this hobby of researching the second coming and signs of the times and the end of the world.
Okay. So when she took off, though, were you surprised that
Mhm.
she took it this far, or was it kind of that's kind of along the path she was going?
When she was into the Julie Rowe stuff, she started spending significant amount of money on food prep. She was buying a lot of winter gear, even though we live in Arizona. She was buying tents. She was convinced that the saints would have to gather in the last days up into the mountains, and she was preparing for that. I thought there was a possibility that she could eventually leave and take off with another group. I'm totally surprised that she took my son Blaze, and I'm even more concerned because Blaze has never subscribed to any of this. He is not he is in no way a supporter of anything she's ever believed. He is your prototypical teenager that all he wants to do is hang out with friends and be on his phone. He's an athlete. He's on the football team. He's worked so hard to be on that football team. They still have games left this season. There's no way that he would have gone along with this. So they've coerced him, possibly sedated him. He's probably maybe been threatened. I did hear from Braden that Braden asked if Blaze was going, and apparently he was told that they told Blaze he was going on an early birthday vacation, but obviously that would have been Blaze would have figured out really quickly that there is no vacation. So I'm very concerned about that piece, that my son is in danger and that his uncle maybe it could be the aggressor in this if things don't go the right way.
Yeah, and that's why, everyone involved here except your son is an adult, so they're obviously free to do what they want. But when you have a 16-year-old, um, is there any sort of custody arrangement between? You're still married to Spring, right?
I'm still married to her. There was a petition filed for a dissolution last week um, between her and I. Um, she's been wanting to divorce me, but she did not want to be the one to file because it's public record in Arizona. So we had been separated, living at different locations in the same city. Um, but as strange as it sounds, we've had a great relationship recently. Without saying too much, the best relationship you could have as a married couple. We've been getting along, but the amount of time she spent talking to Abby and Brooke on the phone, the frequency, we're talking hours a day, multiple times a day, for the last year and a half. And I would periodically check my AT&T phone records. They were always talking to each other, morning, midday, night. Um, because of the petition for dissolution that I had filed, I was able to get an emergency motion from a judge from the Superior Court of Arizona, issuing an order to return Blaze to me immediately and invoking the ability for law enforcement to get involved, to locate him and um, return him to me as the sole custody parent right now. So that order is in effect as of the 24th. That was issued by the judge. I've been working with Gilbert Police. We filed a missing child report. His name's been entered into the NCIC, and we're working on a few other things like an Amber Alert and some other things to get federal law enforcement involved as well.
Okay, so you have sole custody of him, and your ex, or not your ex, your wife, she knows about the temporary custody that the judge issued.
No, because they left on Monday.
Oh, okay.
And
that was issued the day they left or the day after.
It was issued on Tuesday. We got
Tuesday.
the ruling from the judge.
Okay, so is your wife not answering the phone? Are they kind of off the grid, so to speak?
Completely off the grid. I believe Brooke has his phone. I contacted Boise police Monday night, and they routed me to the police that was assigned to the airport. And they were able to pull video footage, and they saw Abby, my daughter, my wife, and Blaze come off of the airplane and leave the airport and get into the white SUV that Brooke is driving. They did see a phone in Abby's hand, so I think Abby has her phone. I think Brooke has his phone, but in an exchange message we were privy to on another device, Abby mentioned that Spring doesn't have her phone, and that Brooke was instructing Abby to keep Blaze away from her phone and make sure he didn't know any passwords to her phone. So they're completely off the grid in terms of communicating with us, but I think they have phones, Brooke and Abby.
They could have other phones. Do you know why Idaho, or do you think they've gone elsewhere, flown into Boise and then gone somewhere else?
I think they may have gone into Oregon, but I think they're staying close to Idaho. I don't know why Idaho. I remember years ago, my wife, when she was into Julie Rowe stuff, I think Julie had mentioned something about Idaho being a safe place to gather, but I don't know. I don't know why Idaho.
Are you worried for your son's safety?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I fear for his safety, especially my uncle doing something to him. If my son is contentious or rebellious or belligerent, I fear that my brother-in-law would restrain him or do something that would incapacitate him. Because my brother-in-law, when he left notes for his children saying he was not coming back and that something amazing was going to happen very soon with the return of the Savior. And he essentially wrote a last will and testament and divided out all his assets. He moved money into his children's accounts and to his wife's account, who's actually going through a very contentious divorce from. So he basically liquidated everything and divvied that up and told where he wanted all his assets to go. So I'm very concerned. Yes.
Wow. And was that within the past week or so that he did that?
He left those notes on Monday. That's when they discovered them when I called them and said, "Hey, do you know what's going on? Do you know what happened to Abby and Brooke and Blaze and Spring?" And they immediately went over to the house he was staying at, and he had left notes.
Wow. Yeah, I can understand why you would be worried. What about finances for your wife? I mean, if they're all on the run, are they sufficient enough to be able to last a couple of months if they're traveling, or do you think that money's going to run out? Has there been any use of her debit or credit cards that you know of?
So we think Brooke took about $50,000 in cash. My wife did not take any money. She does have credit cards, but that I don't have access to. But I don't suspect that she would try to use any of those. She didn't try to take any money out of our shared savings account or use our shared credit cards. Abby did withdraw about $4,000 in cash out of her and her husband's account and drained that account and spent over $1,000 on all this survival gear. So I think Brooke's been planning for a while. I think he's the one that's the financer. I think he's the one deciding where they go, where they stay. So yeah, I think they have the financial means to be on the run for a while if they want to.
Wow. What can the public do to help?
Look for a white Lexus SUV with pink tow hooks on the front. We presume there's a dealer license plate on the back of that vehicle. It's a Lexus GX, I think 470, but it's been outfitted for off-road, so it has big 33-inch tires and a lift. And we think that they're commuting in that still. We don't think they're hunkered down in the mountains. It's none of them like the cold. They're not outdoorsy people, so they don't have survival skills. Um, yeah, they're not survival people that way.
And do you think your son um, would try to get away or call for help, or if he's in the mental state to do so? You know, if they, you mentioned that they might have drugged him or something. I mean, is your son,
Absolutely.
or is he going to try to get along with them?
No, he would say, "This is stupid. Get me out of here. I'm not doing this anymore." I'm sure they have to restrain him if they go anywhere to a public space. I'm positive of that. Um, and I mean that Brooke would probably do that, and potentially Abby. Um, so absolutely, I think Blaze would want to get away. Absolutely, no doubt in my mind.
Are there any areas, Ben, where you guys are focused on, like maybe a search? I know you're out kind of doing your own investigating and sleuth work here in Idaho. But any areas that you want to make the public aware of, at least at this point, where you think they might be versus others?
Um, Western Idaho, Boise area, Coeur d'Alene, on the other side of the border with Oregon. I think that's where we feel right now like things could be where things could be going on.
All right. Well, I hope that, you know, this ends peacefully and that your son's back home very soon. How are you taking
Yeah.
all of this? I mean, your life just has had like a bomb dropped on top of it. How are you doing?
Look, um I have 5 children. So Blaze is wrapped up into this. Um Abby, my daughter's wrapped up into this. I have a son on a mission in Africa right now. I have 2 daughters. It's I'm just trying to stay strong um for them, obviously, but it's hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. The literature they've been reading and the books and all the studying has just taken them down these dark rabbit holes and just has completely corrupted their brain. They're all good people. They're all wonderful people, but getting into these dark topics has really corrupted them in a really horrible way. But they genuinely are just loving, kind people before any of this unfolded.
Right. Ben,
Yeah.
who is the main police agency? Are you working with Gilbert, Boise, both?
I came to Boise because I thought I could work directly with them, but they were unwilling to assist, and were not able to help me. So I went and was able to get Gilbert Police involved, and they're the main agency right now. They have a detective assigned to this.
Okay. And how long do you plan to stay in Idaho?
I don't know. I bought a one-way ticket here. I don't know. I mean, I have a full-time job back home, but I'm willing to lose that job to stay here. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm so
I'm
sorry.
just going day by day and just trying to feel things out, and but I can't answer that for you.
Right. Well, to have a 16-year-old not be without his phone, I can't imagine. I mean, if he's like a normal 16-year-old.
Yeah, and we have information that they, at least Brooke and Abby, were planning this potentially as on Sunday. My son actually went to school on Monday, and my wife pulled him out at 10:38, 10 a.m. ish. So I think my wife left in haste. But yeah, there's no way he's going along with this. There's absolutely, positively no way. I know my son, and so do my children. There's no way he's doing this on his own free will.
You mentioned something about an early birthday gift. When is his birthday?
November 8th.
Okay, so he's turning 17 on November 8th.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I do want to help though get the word out and hope that the more people see this and talk about it. What if, in case your wife should see this, or your son, or your brother-in-law, what do you say to them? What would you say to them?
Just come back. We love you. Nothing's going to change about any of our relationships with you. Um, it's never too late to just say, you know what, maybe we made a mistake. We're not going to judge you. We want to help you and support you heal. And there's no anger or hate. We just want you back and safe, and we want to be with you.